This work session regular meeting of the Township Council is called to order. Madam Clerk?
In accordance with the Open Public Meeting Act of the State of New Jersey, adequate notice of this work session regular meeting of the Franklin Township Council was made by the posting on the front doors of the municipal building, posted on the Township's website, and electronically transmitted to the officially designated newspapers indicating that this work session regular meeting would take place via WebEx at 7 p.m. on Tuesday, February 9, 2021.
Thank you. We can have the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God,
indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Councilman Ambasarian, could you please read the invocation?
Yes, Mayor. May those assembled here today enjoy the many offerings of our township. May we abide by the rules we have established, those of trust, fellowship, and ethics, and may we place service above self in our daily endeavors. And may we always test ourselves and our efforts to be sure they are the truth, good for all concerned, of benefit to mankind, and to provide peace and understanding. Amen.
Amen.
Madam Master Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilman Barrison,
Here.
Councilman Chase,
Here.
Councilwoman Francois,
Here.
Mayor Kramer,
Here.
Councilman Onijaka, Councilwoman Pruitt,
Here.
Deputy Mayor Vasanella,
Here.
Councilman Wright.
Councilman Wright, you were buffering. Okay.
Come on.
Now we can hear you. We're going on to commendations and proclamations. Black History Month 2021. Councilwoman Kimberly Francois.
2021 Black History Month proclamation. Whereas during Black African American History Month, we celebrate the vast contributions of African Americans to our nation's history and identity. And whereas African American History Month grew out the establishment in 1926 of Negro History Week by Carter G. Woodson and the Association for the Study of African American Life and History. And whereas the 2021 national theme for the observance is the Black family, representation, identity, and diversity. And whereas the Township of Franklin is deeply committed to equity and inclusion, which includes the cultural and racial affirmation of our community members who identify themselves as Black African Americans. And whereas our community is better because of the diversity of our population. Now therefore be it resolved that the mayor and council hereby proclaim the month of February 2021 as African American History Month in the Township of Franklin, and encourage all residents to honor Black American history and our culture. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. We are now on to public discussion. We have a motion to open to the public.
So moved.
Moved and seconded. All in favor of opening to the public, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Motion is carried. We are open to the public for 3 minutes each. No yielding of time. May only come up once. Please state your name and address. Mr. McQueen.
Yes, we're asking anybody from the public that wishes to speak to please use the chat window and the raise hand feature. If you are on the phone, you may hit *3. Again, if you wish to speak as a member of the public, please use the chat feature and raise hand option. If you're on the phone, *3. Last call for anybody from the public wishing to speak. Use the chat function, raise hand feature, or *3 if you're dialed in on the phone. Mr. Mayor, I do not see anybody indicating they wish to speak at this time.
Nor do I. Do we have a motion to close public portion?
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All in favor of closing public portion, say aye.
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 Opposed, say nay. Motion is carried. Public portion is closed. We're on to council comments and reports. Before we do that, I'd like to ask our township attorney. As people may or may not know, we had a councilman, Councilman Galtieri, resign because he moved out of town. So there was an opening. He's the second ward councilman, and the township attorney will address the legalities of that.
Thank you, Mayor. This is a process that we've gone through a number of times over the year in Franklin Township. As a result of the fact that members of the council are elected at partisan elections, in other words, where there are primaries involved, replacement of a council person involves and has a role for the Democratic Municipal Committee in this circumstance because the council person was elected as a candidate of the Democratic Party. There's a clock that begins to tick on the day of the vacancy occurs, and that happened on the date of the resignation. 15 days for the Democratic Committee to provide the council with 3 names, and then a total of 30 days from the date of the vacancy for the council to make its selection from one of those 3 names. If for some reason the council fails to act within 30 days of the vacancy after receiving 3 names, it would then kick back to the municipal committee. Because of the way this fell on the calendar, the time for the committee to provide names to the council actually runs this next weekend. Assuming that you get the 3 names at that time, you can fill the vacancy at your meeting on February 23rd and be within the statutory timeframe.
Okay, thank you. Just because I'm a government nerd, what happens in nonpartisan?
In a nonpartisan form, the council fills the vacancy.
Interesting. Okay, unless there are any questions, we shall start with council comments. I'll do in the screen order again, which would be Ms. Pruitt, Ms. Francois, Mr. Ambasarian, Mr. Chase, Mr. Wright, and then the deputy mayor. So, Councilwoman Pruitt.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The only meeting that I've had since our last council meeting was the Advisory Board of Health. We were able to get that meeting up and running. Mayor. We also, of course, had representatives from our county health department, and we spoke a lot about, as you probably guessed it, the pandemic. I do have just a few things to report from that meeting. If any resident has any general questions about the pandemic, they can obviously go to the mayor, but if they want to go to the county, they ask that you just use their hotline for general questions, their COVID hotline for general questions. If you have questions about making an appointment, they are directing people to the state, either through the state portal or the vaccine assistant phone number, which is 855-568-0545, and that is manned or that's gendered. There's someone on the line from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. Recognizing that there is, some push and pull and a little drama related to that number, but that is so far the county's best direction in terms of signing up for vaccine appointment or any specific vaccine assistance or registration. They also wanted to have reported out that they are aware of different communities' obstacles and issues trying to get to vaccines and issues of transportation and so on and so forth. They're investigating options, and I'm sure there's going to be more stuff to report specifically on that. But I did also want to, I guess, share with the public that the Advisory Board of Health, it meets the first Wednesday of every month at 7:30. And we're having conversations that I'm realizing that could use just a lot more community input from different parts of our community. So if anyone is just interested in kind of sitting in and being involved in the public comment section, I think that would be a really good use of time and information. The health department is generally there. And especially with the pandemic going on, that's, proving to be really difficult for certain communities, well, all communities. Having that input and that stakeholdering, I think, would be really important, and the rest of the board would welcome, I believe, that input as well. So that's all I have for committee reports, but I do obviously, he is no longer with us, but, acknowledge the great work of the second youngest, or was the second youngest person on the council, and he will be missed. And, we obviously wish him the best of luck. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councilman Kimberly Francois.
Yeah, I too would like to acknowledge Councilman Will Galatieri. He brought a lot of energy and a lot of youthful thought into the council, into the township, and he will be greatly missed. And the pandemic, it's unfortunate that we can't give him a proclamation and a commendation and everybody rally around him and wish him best wishes and goodbye. But clearly, he will be missed. And I wish him all the best luck in the future in all his new endeavors. And we did have a Hamilton Street Advisory Board meeting. I'll let the deputy mayor give a committee report on that. So that's all I have to say, Mr. Mayor. Thank you.
I totally forgot. Thank you, Councilwoman.
I missed that, but okay. Thank you. On to Councilman Ambassador.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I have a couple of items to report. There was a HRC meeting on January 27th. We had the Franklin School Board of Education representatives, Mary Clark and the Superintendent John Ravelli, joined us. They gave us very good information about the school operations and how the scheduling is coming along. About 70% of the kids are still doing remote, and the balance is 30% in class. And they've got different groupings within that. So they are working very hard to, meet the demands of remote education, and they're doing a good job. So the next meeting, HRC, is on the 24th. So that's coming up in a couple of weeks. Other than that, I have a quick report from the Sewerage Commission, the Sewerage Authority. I'm going to miss our chairman, Will Galtieri, there. So it's a double whammy for me. So he was a wealth of knowledge at the authority. He knew all the projects, all the information, and all the details about everything that went on there. So the board has voted to appoint a new chairman there, chairwoman now. It's Brianna DeVoe. So she will be the new chair at the authority. A point of reference there is, I guess I'm the vice chairman there now. They elected me to be the vice chair. A quick item to note on that is the Western Canal Road. We had a serious break on one of the main pipes there. It's a very old pipe that was, I understand, originally installed by the township. But nevertheless, it's a major breakage. It's you may recollect we had one last year. This one is going to cost us even more. I think we are estimating about $2.5 million unplanned expense at the authority to fix that. What we are going to do is, if you are a science student, there's a Bernoulli's principle that always there's going to be a second or a third breakage when something like this happens. Is always the second occurrence. So we are going to eliminate that from happening next year. It's about 3,000 feet long pipes have to be, we are going to be replacing that so that all the old sections would not create an issue like this in the future for some time. But that is going to create a hole in our budget. I just want the council and the people to know that. Other than that, I want to say that I have had my first shot on the for the COVID vaccine. It took a lot of time and efforts. Just don't wait for the state to send you an appointment. They have a good list of places that everyone can call and try the luck. I mean, we just got lucky when we called. We called for 2 days nonstop, all day long. Every one of those numbers. Finally, we found an appointment with the Riverside Medical Group in Belleville. They had openings, so we took it. We had the Moderna shot about 10 days ago. We'll be going back for the second in about a couple of weeks. But please take the shot if you can get one, but don't give up. Keep calling. The state system is not very friendly in terms of giving you appointments. I also read on the governor's site that they are bringing COVID vaccine to First Baptist Church in our township. The time and the logistics are not yet known, but very shortly, I'm sure we will hear about that. That's a good thing. I think, Governor, it's a national issue where the minorities, blacks and browns, are not getting their equitable share of COVID shots. So this is an effort to alleviate that issue the governor has undertaken. I think our town, I believe, according to his posting, is the first town that has been announced. So that's all I have, Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman. Councilman Ted Chase.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We didn't have a land use committee meeting at the end of last month. It's always scheduled the day after the second council meeting of the month. We just had a public works committee meeting, and while some of the things discussed are not yet ripe for public discussion, one point is that Assemblyman Danielson got us something like $500,000 to complete a connection between our line that runs down Route 27 from Route 518, the Little Rocky Hill line. Will connect that up with New Jersey American Water at Raymond Road and Route 27, so that line will be able to be fed water from either end, which will greatly improve the surface and even the quality of the water in that line. And this is something the design is well advanced. We're applying for necessary permits now. Of course, we anticipate a struggle with the Department of Transportation for cutting into the pavement at the edge of Route 27, as we've had in the past. But we shall overcome there. If anyone has had their mailbox knocked down by plows in the course of the plowing after the recent snowstorms, send a message to the Department of Public Works, and they will replace the mailbox, but don't expect anything fancy. It'll be, the most affordable mailbox that the town can get for doing that. I have a neighbor across the street whose mailbox is down. I've got to go tell them about this. And the Environmental Commission is very interested in having green roofs on new warehouses and so forth. That would both help with stormwater management, and it actually cools the building in summer and warms it by insulating it in winter. But we've yet to persuade a warehouse to install such, but we're working on that. So thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Chase. Councilman Wright. Councilman Wright, you're not muted, but we can't hear you.
It's okay now?
Yes.
I have two reports. One is from the planning board. And it warms my heart to say this because I never met a sidewalk I didn't like. There was a discussion of two applicants on Elizabeth Avenue and sidewalks. In lieu of putting sidewalks down, one of the things that would have to happen was they thought about giving money to the township for the construction of sidewalks someplace else. And what we've done is, as a result of that discussion, along Elizabeth Avenue, on the side of Elizabeth Avenue, sidewalks would be more appropriate on the left side of Elizabeth Avenue, where there are more pedestrians. Understand what I just said. On the westerly side of Elizabeth Avenue, there are more pedestrians going to such destinations as the high school and retail uses at the corner of New Brunswick and Schoolhouse Road intersection. Now, the kids get to walk to the high school on a sidewalk. They choose to walk, sidewalk. You don't have to walk in the street anymore. And it just makes good sense. Now, I don't know who said it on the planning board, whether it was a discussion somewhere along the line. They said that 50 years from now, 30 years from now, when they realize they're going to have to put in sidewalks, they're going to say, well, 30, 40 years ago, why didn't they put in the sidewalks when they were building something? Because it just makes sense. That's why sidewalks, because they're a safety issue, not just to put them down. Safety issue in my point of view. So that's the planning board, and Dr. Chase sits on that planning board. So I definitely want to give a load to Dr. Chase over there. And I want to give him a shout out because I know he did it. Okay, I know he did it. Now, for the Recreation Council, they're going to put out the first monthly newsletter that will go out via email, Facebook, and on the township website. I had marbles in my mouth, I'm sorry. The March edition of the newsletter will also list all the course offerings for the spring. Residents can go to the Franklin Township Park Recreation page to sign up for an account to receive the newsletter. Now, the newsletter makes good sense. It'll tell you where we've been, what we're doing, and where we're going. That way you can never say, I didn't get one in the mail. It works for us. Applications, everything. And the monthly newsletter will update you on something that happens in between the month. Instead of just getting it quarterly, it'll update you on everything that's going on in between when you don't, when you receive the newsletter in the mail. Now, also on another note, Franklin Township, I love it. Will loved it, but he had to go. Will was a councilman that you could help bounce things off of, and he was good for that. And I'm going to miss him. That was my buddy. I'm going to miss him. So Will had to go, and even though I'm sorry to see him go, I wish him well. Wish him well. And that's it, Mr. Mayor. The next time I go, I'll make sure I don't eat marbles or anything like that.
Thank you, Mr. Wright. Deputy Mayor.
Yes, I'm going to mention Will Galtieri. Yeah, him and his family have been here for decades in Franklin, and he served with a great commitment to this town. He really was sincere and tireless in his efforts to really make a better quality of life for the whole town, especially the second ward. And I represent the fifth ward, very most densely populated area in the township. And although I work closely with all my colleagues, because my ward I represent is bordered by the canal, the fourth ward, and the second ward, I do a lot of work very closely with Councilman Wright and Councilman Will, as I like to call him. So over the years, although his tenure has only been, I believe, 3 years on council, or a little over 3 years, there's been so many times that we put our heads together and got work done that was for the betterment of his ward, my ward, and the township in general. So he will be dearly missed. He really was passionate and just had incredible energy with his work. I just wanted to add that to the wonderful comments that were said about him. The Hamilton Street Board meeting. Oh, before I get to that, I do want to mention again, Councilman Chase mentioned him, but Joe Danielson, Assemblyman Danielson, being able to get $500,000 grants here and there, and the state to assist in many things we have to do in this town with infrastructure and everything else we deal with is fantastic. And he really does follow in the footsteps of Upendra Shavakula, really working tirelessly to help this town on a state level. I just want to mention that also. In Public Works, we also had a lengthy discussion on our snow removal, talking about a few of the glitches. Overall, it was an incredible storm, and I think we did an excellent job. There was a few glitches in a few areas we discussed that we can even do a better job next time. And Mayor sat in on that meeting along with the Director of Public Works and the manager. And we're always striving to do even a better job. And obviously, it was a pretty big storm, and then a nice little follow-up storm to follow that. So it was a busy time for Public Works. The Hamilton board meeting, Councilwoman Pruitt was there, Councilwoman Francois was there, and I'll just quickly mention they reorganized. They elected the chair and the vice chair. Congratulations to Dean Addy and Pat Gianotto serving as chair and vice chair again. They discussed various ways. The whole board discussed various ways to increase the communication with the business owners and engage more of the business owners with the ongoing work and efforts of the board. And some of the priorities as voiced by the board was to make some more progress with the sidewalks. Speaking of sidewalks, Carl, many people see the value in good streetscape. So that's going to be a priority of theirs, along with getting some of the trees back. A few years back, they cut a lot of the trees, which just were not practical to have, and have a great plan to try to add some greenery to the street. Unfortunately, the board will not be able to plan specific public events now that they may otherwise plan for the spring and into the summer because of the unpredictability with COVID. But as we get a better insight as to what we'd be able to do with public events, they have many ideas of how to engage the public and get some of those wonderful community events back onto Hamilton Street. And I believe I covered everything. Thank you very much, Mayor.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. For my comments, There were some problems with the snow removal. I received many calls. I answered, I believe, every one of them, drove out to some of them. But in all, I would like to thank our crews. Some of them were out there 40 hours straight. And that's, you're gonna make a mistake. They don't actually hit mailboxes. The snow coming off the shovel, generally knocks off the mailbox when that happens. But it's hard to miss every driveway and hard to miss every mailbox. So they did a pretty good job. Remember, taxes are due tomorrow. Property taxes, so don't forget. And the vaccine. So I get a lot of calls, and people are welcome to call me. But they call me saying, we need the vaccine here in Franklin. Why not use the Kmart? Or why not use the Armory? The limitation is not the location. The limitation is the vaccine itself. Franklin Township gets no vaccine. None of it comes directly to the township government. Somerset County government gets a total of 700 new vaccines, first dose vaccines a week. 700 for a population of 330,000. The state gets 100,000. They distribute that to hospitals, some urgent care providers, etc. And any vaccine that we're going to get through the county, and they've only got 700 a week. They say when they get to 2,000 a week, then they will open up a satellite location, most likely at Quailbrook, so that Franklin will have its own vaccine site. Right now, if you get vaccine from the county, you have to drive up to RVCC. That bothers me a lot because not everyone has a car. It bothers me a lot that the way you have to get on primarily is through a computer. Not everyone has a computer. So you can call the state number, which Councilwoman Pruitt gave you. You can get, if you don't have online abilities, you can call 855-568-0545. And as she pointed out, you can call the county with questions. That's 908-231-7155. 908-231-7155 for the county, and 855-568-0545 for the state number to try to register. If you have online capabilities, and I would try to register at every site you can register at. That's the way a lot of people are doing it. I realize it's a full-time job. I think it stinks. It's the Wild West out there, and people are just scrambling to do whatever they can. But that is the situation we have when you have 100,000 doses a week and 6 million people who want them. I heard today that New Jersey has vaccinated 1 million people so far. That's great. My estimate is there's 6 million people who want it. So that's a fair chunk, but that's no solace to someone who is desperately looking for it and not getting it. This will loosen up as the manufacturing continues, as more vaccines come online. If new vaccines come online, people have asked me which one should they get. The one you can get. Whatever vaccine you can get, you should get. I'm not going to go into the science of the variants and all that. I will say I got my second Moderna shot last week, and first day I had a sore arm. Second day, I braved going into work, and about halfway through, I said, I can't do this, and I had to go home. It was due to the headache that I had. A lot of people complain of the headaches. some people are wiped out for a few days after, but I'll tell you, I would do it again and again and again and again to be able to get that vaccine. So please, if you can find a way to get it, get it. And if you're trying to get it and can't, I'm very sorry. One thing that that Commissioner Director Chanel Robinson and I both agree on is we're going to do everything we can to make sure that Somerset County and a part of that Franklin Township is not the bottleneck. It won't be that we can't get out the vaccines that we're given. The limitation is going to be the vaccines that we get. So we're working hard to do that. We're getting 700 a week. They have the capability to do 2,000 a day. So they're willing and waiting. We can get more vaccine. We'll get it out there. Let's see. I guess that's all of my report, Mr. Manager.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So I had a couple things to report, and thanks to Councilman Wright for reporting on the Recreation Department and the activities there, and in particular the newsletter. The monthly newsletter for February is available on the Township's website if you're interested in seeing the updates on the various types of recreation programs that are available for everyone from small children up to senior citizens, and includes therapeutic recreation programs as well. So you can look at that newsletter. It's available right from the homepage of the website. Thank you, Councilman Vasanella and Mayor Kramer, for reporting back on the snow that we spoke about in Public Works. Yes, we can always do better, and we will continue to strive to do better. And there were some high points and low points and some failures that we need to correct, and we'll continue to work on those. The one thing that I would like to stress to everyone who hears me right now is the number one hurdle that our employees and contractors need to overcome is when there are cars parked on a street and they need to plow it. So if you have a driveway, please move your car into the driveway. We have a municipal ordinance that prohibits on-street parking. We try to be as lenient as possible, but unfortunately, some of them constitute a hazard, and the police department needs to get involved, and we need to have those cars off the street. The streets that were without problems generally are those streets that had no cars parked on them. The streets that constituted the biggest problems are those streets that had cars parked on both sides of the road. And unfortunately, when you have 20 to 24 inches of snow on the road, it's very, very difficult for a snowplow to weave in and out of parked cars. And one of the things that a plow needs is momentum, and you can't gain momentum if you're constantly stopping because of a parked car. Now, the way a plow works is it clears the road in front of the wheels of the vehicle, and if it can't clear the road in front of it, it just slips and slides and gets stuck itself. So please, if you have the ability to move that car off the street or find a place to put it, do it, because that will make your street get cleaned much better. That's all I have, Mr. Mayor. Thank you.
Great, thank you. We have no council discussion items. Next item is item number 10, approval of the minutes. I approve the following minutes to the Township Council. I present the following minutes to the Township Council for approval. The Township Council work session regular meeting of January 26, 2021 at 7 p.m. Do we have a motion on the minutes?
So move.
And a second.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Anyone, any corrections? Any comments? Madam Clerk?
Councilman Emerson,
Yes.
Councilman Chase,
Yes.
Councilwoman Francois,
Yes.
Mayor Kramer,
Yes.
Councilman Oni Chaka, Councilwoman Pruitt,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Vasanella,
Yes.
Councilman Wright.
Yes.
It's time to pay the bills. Approval of the warrants in the amount of $3,114,051.89 on February 9th, 2021 represented to the Township Council for payment. Do I have a motion? You gotta pay the bill. Somebody make a motion.
So moved.
Second,
Moved and seconded. Any comments? Any questions? Madam Clerk, you're a little hard to hear, Madam Clerk.
Councilman Embarrasson,
Yes.
Councilman Chase,
Yes.
Councilwoman Francois,
Yes.
Mayor Kramer,
Yes,
Councilman Onijaka, Councilwoman Pruitt,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Vasanella,
Yes.
Councilman Wright.
yes.
so, we have public hearing and adoption and ordinances on second reading. Ordinance 4337-21, an ordinance, providing for an amnesty period for the disconnection of sump pumps and other drains from the township and Franklin sanitary sewer system is presented for public hearing and final adoption. Public hearing has been noticed as required. We have a motion to open to the public.
So moved.
We have a second.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed, say nay. We are open to the public. Mr. McQueen.
He's muted.
Sorry. We're asking anybody from the public who wishes to speak on this ordinance to please state your name and address, use the chat function and the raised hand option. If you're dialed in by phone, you may hit *3. We ask that you would lower your hand when you're done. So if anybody would like to speak, please raise your hand at this point. I see the mayor's hand going up.
Just playing with a button.
Once again, anybody from the public wishing to speak on this ordinance, please use the chat function, raise hand feature, or *3 on the telephone. Last call for anybody from the public wishing to speak. Mr. Mayor, I do not see anybody indicating they would like to speak.
Nor do I. Do we have a motion to close public portion?
Motion to close the public.
Moved and seconded. All in
Second,
favor of closing the public hearing, say aye.
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 Opposed, say nay. Motion is carried. Do we have a motion on the item?
So moved.
And second?
Second.
So last time I had Councilman Galtieri explain this. Councilman Armasarian, do you want to go into this, or would you like me to?
You can go ahead, Mayor.
Okay, so this is an ordinance that people sometimes tie their sump pumps into the sanitary sewage system. The problem with that is when that water comes out, we are charged basically by the volume of water. So if you're putting your sump pumps into the sewage system, you're costing the sewage authority money, and that eventually raises your sewer bills. This is an option to disconnect from that without any penalty from it, because they're going to start investigating what was with smoke, some smoke method, and they're going to be looking to find people who are connected. This is a way to disconnect without any penalty. And it's going to be for, what is it, 18 months, Mr. Ramon? Would be muted, Mr. Ramon.
It's 18 months, Mayor.
Yes, it's 18 months, Mayor, and this is not the first time we've done this. When the ordinance was originally put in effect, it had a similar grace period. And, the purpose here is not to try to jam people up. The purpose here is to get compliance.
Very good. Do we have any questions? No other discussion? Madam Clerk?
Councilman Embarrasson,
Yes.
Councilman Chase,
Yes.
Councilwoman Francois,
Yes.
Mayor Kramer,
Yes.
Councilman Oni Chaka, Councilwoman Pruitt,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Vasanella,
Yes.
Councilman Wright.
It passes. We have no ordinances on first reading, and we have the all-time shortest consent agenda, items A through D, 4 items, as listed on the consent agenda portion of this meeting are presented to the Township Council for adoption. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Any discussion on the, so we can actually discuss all 4 items.
Yes.
This is government at its best, doing nothing.
I'm sorry?
No, don't sound like Ronald Reagan.
I would like B.
We'd like B,
B.
B or
Township
D?
manager to explain B.
We have a township doctor and we have to pay him. That township doctor is the one who does the physicals for the people who work for us when they get hurt or when we hire them. And that is our township doctor.
Doctors get paid?
They do, Mayor.
Would anyone else like to annoy the manager with a question? Hearing none, Madam Clerk.
Councilman Embarrasson,
Yes.
Councilman Chase,
Yes.
Councilwoman Francois,
Yes.
Mayor Kramer,
Yes.
Councilwoman Pruitt,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Vasanella,
Yes.
Councilman Wright.
Yes.
We have no resolutions to be voted on separately. Old business, boards, committees, commissions, and vacancies. Anyone have a nomination? Hearing none, we have no executive session. We are on to the last item, adjournment. Do we have a motion to adjourn?
So move.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All in favor of adjournment, say aye.
Aye.
Bye.
Opposed, say nay. We are adjourned. Be well.